Welcome to the Spooky Screen. Today we have a special episode for you. We're going to be discussing whether or not you should be watching Andor, the new Disney Star Wars TV show that is out now on their streaming Disney Plus. If you are not a subscriber, you may need to subscribe to that. We have two opposing ideas today, and I will be mediating between them. On one side of the camp is Steven. And Steven is very pro Andor. And Steven, can you give me a quick summary of your thoughts of why you are pro? Very high level.
Consider myself a very casual Star Wars fan. I've seen the original trilogy when I was growing up. I've seen the George Lucas prequel trilogy, and then I've seen the new Disney-fied trilogy as well. And then I saw
Have you
one
watched
season
any of
of
the cartoons?
no, none of the cartoons.
Oh, you're not
I've
a fan.
seen, yeah,
You're not a
I
fan.
know. Like I
You're not a
said,
fan.
I'm like barely there. I barely qualify. I've seen one season of Mandalorian. I don't know if that gets me across the line, but I've seen one
Filthy
season
casual.
of Mandalorian. And that's all. That's it. That's all the Star Wars that I've seen. I haven't read any of the books. I don't collect
And
anything.
your stance. And how
I don't.
many
I don't have
how
Boba
many
Fett underwear.
episodes of the season have you watched?
I've
of
seen
Andor?
10 out of the 12, so I'm
Okay.
going to try to finish the 2 episodes tonight after this recording. Actually,
And your stance today is pro Andor.
I'm pro rebellion. Yeah, pro Andor.
Pro rebellion.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I like
very.
that. And so on the other side of the coin, we have two skeptics. Noah, our resident skeptic, who whether it's skeptical about this show or just cheap because he doesn't want to pay for Disney Plus, we'll find out. Noah, are you a classic Star Wars fan? And if so, tell me why or why not you're skeptical.
You know, I'm married into a family that is, I would say, super fans of Star Wars. I've seen the original trilogy. I've seen the prequels. I've seen the Disney trilogy. I have also seen all the Star Wars shows except for Andor.
Have you seen the
Season
Christmas
1,
special?
2. I have seen pieces of the Christmas special.
Damn.
I've seen Boba Fett. I've seen
Not
Kenobi.
just the one episode.
Not just the greatest episode of all time,
According to Nick.
According to Nick. So I've seen.
I don't rescind that opinion either.
I have not seen the cartoons. I will admit that I'm not like that. I would say I am a casual Star Wars fan that is forced to watch many Star Wars things. My stance is that after Kenobi, I kind of got a sense of what the Disney Star Wars shows are like, and I'm a little bit exhausted, and I vowed never to watch anymore because I was getting sick of it, and I also canceled my Disney Plus. So my stance is that Steven's gonna have a hard time convincing me to not only watch Andor but pay money to watch Andor because I just don't believe it'll be good enough for me to do so.
What is money really?
What is money?
It is
invisible.
Nick. Nick is in a similar camp, but maybe not the same position as Noah. Nick, give us a little bit about your background and your position today on the show.
So I won't say I would say I'm still a pretty casual Star Wars fan. I mean, I've watched all the media though. I've watched the original trilogy, the prequels. I haven't watched the third film in the Disney trilogy.
So you're not a fan at all.
Oh, come on, man. What the hell?
If you were, you would have seen every movie. So.
I've watched the Clone Wars, the animated series. I've watched Clone Wars, the 3D series. I've watched Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, damn.
Do you have Star Wars action figures?
I do not. I will say I have absorbed an exorbitant amount of Star Wars content, and I have nothing against Andor. I'm just kind of at the point where I don't care enough. Like, there's nothing. I don't have any bad thoughts toward it. I just don't care.
Says the man who watched Moon Knight.
Yes.
I think a lot of our viewers will fall into similar camps as Noah and Nick today. I myself am a casual Star Wars fan. I've seen all the movies, all the generations of movies. I haven't watched all the shows, a couple of Mandalorian, and I've watched a couple episodes of the season, but I am going to kind of abstain and just be a host to mediate this discussion because I think that we have enough ionized energy in the group already. Can we do it? Let's do it like this. So can we make it top 3 things?
Yeah.
I have top 3 things, baby.
Okay. And Nick, if you don't have 3, you can do 1. It's okay.
Okay.
You want me to go
No,
first?
of course you
All right, I'll go
volunteered.
first. I'll go first.
I mean,
Go ahead.
we have
No,
dead air time. Now I have to edit this all out.
All right, no, I'm
It's
not adding anything.
unreasonable.
This is all raw
Didn't
footage.
sign up for this.
Completely raw. First point: why I refuse to watch Andor, or just don't want to watch Andor. It's a prequel. I know what happens
Oh
to
my
Andor.
gosh.
He dies. Why should I care about him, Steven?
Okay. Wait. Well, just give me the rest. Give me the other two.
Oh, we're doing this. Okay. Um. Well, this is coupled kind of together. I have Star Wars exhaustion. They're all blending together. It feels like oversaturation in my brain, and it's hard for me to differentiate them now. They all feel very cheap, but at the same time slick looking. It's like this cheap, slick look across everything. Like they're practical effects, but they kind of feel cheap. They're CGI, but they kind of feel cheap. It's like this weird. I can't even explain this weird. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The valley that you can sense something doesn't feel right.
Uncanny Valley.
Uncanny Valley, yes. Like even the backdrops feel Uncanny Valley to me in every single Star Wars show now. Another point:
Budget.
episodic and filler. Every Star Wars show, even the ones that I like Mandalorian, they tend to be episodic, and there's a lot of filler episodes. And I just can't do it anymore. I can't sit through an episode that has no connection to the overall plot just so I can see a bunch of extra practical effect monsters and laser beams. I'm kind of just tired of that. That couples with the exhaustion. So I guess that's the point, right? Prequels, hate them. I know what happens to the dude. He dies.
Mm-hmm.
Everything looks cheap, and there's an uncanny valley on these Star Wars show. It's starting to show now. Mandalorian, I couldn't tell, but now that all these shows have been popping out one or the other, and then the third one is episodic and filler. All the Star Wars shows are episodic and filler, and I fear Andor is going to be similar. So those are my 3 points.
All right.
All right, Nick, can you give me yours before we dive in?
My major reason as to that it boils down to I didn't enjoy Rogue One, and this just seems like it's Rogue One in a TV series.
It's a good point, Nick.
That's really like my main point as to why I don't care. Because we know, I guess that will spill over into it's a prequel, and I'm normally one who doesn't. I don't mind prequels. I usually like the extra backstory. But this is kind of covering ground that's already been covered, so I don't know why I should care to go back and just see it from a different point of view. I don't need to see another point of view as to why the rebels are being rebellious.
Yeah.
So,
let
Nick,
me.
what was your point though, succinctly?
My point is, it just seems to be
It's
retreading old ground.
retreading. Okay.
It's
Retreading-
Rogue One the show is what he's
Yeah,
basically saying.
Yeah, it's a movie put in a TV series just for the fact that they're just like, in case you didn't care to watch this movie, watch this TV show to find out anyway.
So here's our 4 points: prequel, tired, episodic filler, and retreading. I think retreading is a new word we will put in the dictionary. I like it.
Isn't retreading already a word?
I don't know that because I'm not smart. So Steven, blow us away and disarm
Yes.
us.
Okay.
We're ready.
So I'm going to start with the idea that you didn't enjoy Rogue One. And for that reason, you're not really interested in Rogue One, the TV series starring Cassian Andor. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually enjoy. I thought the movie was fine. I thought the movie was okay. And I thought it was an interesting take on the universe with actual human characters, not the Skywalkers, and focusing on human individuals fighting against this imperial force. But I've been thinking about like why I didn't like the movie, but why I've been enjoying this TV series so much. And the reason why I have been is because within the format of a TV series, you have 12 episodes, 12 hours approximately, to kind of state your case as to why you want to be engaged with this world that they're depicting and the characters moving around in it and the conflicts that kind of erupt between these characters. And I find that expanded time frame provides for so much more compelling character arcs to be developed, conflicts, for themes to be mined and explored, and then also for just very entertaining set pieces, but also like moving dialogue to just be fleshed out more properly versus a 2 hour movie, Rogue One, where you just kind of have to like cramp things in as much as possible and make it seem entertaining. And what it's doing purposely is it's it's taking the frame of this the beginning of this rebel alliance from the human perspective and showing how difficult it is to start this rebellion against this imposing force, which is the empire. um, and I found that it works so well within the TV show format versus the movie. And I guess that's my response to your skepticism, Nick, is that the added time allows for the writing that they commit to kind of shine through compared to like a 2 hour film. There's so much more background, so much more effective world building, and so much more compelling character arcs, and really just cutting, incisive dialogue that convinces you that this world is real.
So, quick question, just to try to,
Yeah.
I guess, oppose. My first question is, what are the episode times? Is it the same kind of format as
Yeah.
a lot of Disney Plus shows seem to be going of the format of some episodes will be 30 minutes, some episodes will be 60 minutes, some will be
Yeah.
45. Is it the same like that?
So
Or
it's
it's
around.
just kind of jumping around?
So this is I'm gonna seg this in to the filler episode criticism that Noah had about a lot of these Star Wars TV shows. Andor's episodes are about 40 to 50 minutes in length, so it's about a full hour. With if you threw in a couple commercials there, it would come out to a full hour's worth of TV. And it's structured very specifically in a way where you go through Cassian's journey, our main character, in arcs. So the first 3 episodes is an arc. The next 3 episodes is another particular arc, and then the next 4 episodes are another arc, and the last 2 episodes creates this finale arc. And so each one is kind of like a chapter, beginning, middle, and end. None of the episodes so far I've finished and been like, that was a waste. Like, that didn't really move the narrative or the characters across the chessboard. I thought that each episode, even the ones where there weren't action set pieces, it was focused on developing the characters in the lead up to some big action set piece. So when that it takes place, you care about these characters, you care about the outcomes, and you care about where the story is headed and how this is going to play out. And again, I go back to the world building. It does such an effective job of world building that it immerses you, and it almost makes me forget like a lot of the things that I remember about the Star Wars universe. And it's almost like I'm learning things for the first time.
That's a good segue into my second question, which was going to be, if I didn't feel like my attention was captured during a 2 hour film or hour and a half film, then what would want to keep my attention captured, even if it's for a shorter amount of time? I still have to go through. I guess there's 12 episodes. You said.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So if I go sit through just 1 hour, what's going to want to keep my attention for the next 11 hours? I'm going to have to force myself to sit through.
I'm going to just cut you off because I think he has kind of answered that already, in the sense that he's saying that
The
the
world
episodic,
building.
the world building, the episodic kind of arcs and chapters are tight enough and exploratory enough in their own right that it keeps your interest for each chapter instead of losing itself across the whole thing.
It's like the show is not like any sort of Star Wars series or movie that you've really seen before. Even different from Rogue One, I think it's actually quite like impressive how far they were able to kind of push that Disney boundary for the show.
Mhm.
Like, I was surprised, and you know how jaded, burnt out I am about franchises.
This is more akin to an adult Star Wars. It's not the super space
Star
crazy
Wars.
I want to point that answer at Noah's exhaustion about Star
Mhm.
Wars, and I think
Mhm.
also my exhaustion after I saw that third movie in the Disney trilogy. I was like,
Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, Rise of Skywalker. I was like,
I refuse to watch that movie.
I think I'm done with Star Wars for a little bit. You know, I'm okay not seeing any of these films because they were pumping them out every winter. You know, on like
just
a
like
yearly
these
basis.
TV shows.
Just like these TV shows. But Andor was the diamond in the rough for me. I just was like, continued to hear chatter, and I was like, okay, I'll give the first episode a shot, and I was like, this is different. And with the exhaustion piece, I think what what you're going to get here is like you can have this franchise, right? You have the world that's the universe this franchise builds out, but you're going to get something different and innovative from it. You're not going to get something that you've seen before. And even with Rogue One, like this
This ain't your
the
daddy's Rogue One.
this ain't your daddy's Rogue One.
Can I ask you a
can't help
deal?
it.
Can I ask you a question? I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying. You're making good points. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a little cozy. Am I?
Noah, can you just run the question by me as the assistant to the regional
Yes, Johnny.
manager?
I'll run it by you first. My
Thank you.
question to Steven is, if you approve it, is is the Empire shown as like fully bad guy, like, or is there some um other angle? Like, are they shown as fully flushed out characters, or just like pew pew people to be shot at, or and bad guys to kill? Because that to me is the exhaustion, right? I'm sick of the rebellion being the heroes, the light versus the dark. It just gets tiring after a while because you know what happens, right? It's played out a million times in a million different ways.
That's the most compelling part about this TV show is
Okay,
that
That's the grit, Noah.
is that the Disney grit
I'll give you
coming
one
into play?
example. It's not going to be a spoiler. I won't spoil anything. But there was one episode they introduce a character from the Empire. So he's like he works for the Empire, and it would be so easy in this episode to have just made him one dimensional. But no, what they do is they introduce his family, and then what they do beyond that is they introduce some issues within his family. And again, this is the Empire, dude,
Mm-hmm.
that motivate him to work for the Empire for his own personal gain. Right? He just
Mm-hmm.
wants to keep his family safe.
Yeah.
And you start to understand that behind the stormtrooper masks, behind the bureaucracy that is the Empire, there are individual characters on that side, which has been labeled evil throughout all these movies and TV shows, that have a very human aspect to them. They all have their personal motivations. They have their reasons for betraying the Empire. They have their reasons for aligning themselves to it. And it creates these very three-dimensional characters. But on the opposite side, with the beginning, you know, organization of the Rebel Alliance, what you have are not white knight heroes. You have individuals who are hesitant to rebel against the Empire for their own personal reasons. You have individuals who are willing to backstab each other for their own personal gain. You have individuals who lie to one another, and it's very there's
Criminals.
so much moral gray area between the two parties that
Mm-hmm.
makes this show incredibly complex and compelling. Yeah.
that single point might have won me over, Steven.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
think
I have
that
to.
to me is
I
the
agree.
biggest exhaustion factor of Star Wars, right?
So now we are no longer tired. We don't feel like we're retreading. We've agreed that the episodic arcs are probably okay.
Can I say one more thing that I
I
hope
have one
Steven
more
to
question to
address?
answer. Yeah, the prequel, but you can ask
Yeah,
away.
that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna get
That
to.
was this is jumping off that. Rogue One gave us a character of Andor, right? Andor at the end. I'm assuming the end because he dies, right? The
Right.
end of his arc. And I didn't like that guy.
Yeah.
So where Andor ends and Rogue One begins, where is the bridge? Like, am I going to accept this Andor at the end of this main TV show arc? Because this one I don't like. So where is the bridge gap, and how does that fit in my enjoyment of the show when I know he turns out to be a dickhead?
I'll have to watch Rogue One again because I've only seen it once in theaters, and I can understand your concerns there with 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 that character. I will say that with this show, they're keeping that movie in mind, but they're focused on how his character serves the story, the arcs that they're writing, and then other characters around him more than establishing continuity with Rogue One. I think
Mhm.
that's of more importance to these writers and the show itself. And I find his character journey to be very intriguing.
So I feel like I crossed off all the items on the board.
Yeah.
So Noah and Nick, you have no excuse not to watch this movie. You must pay to stream Disney Plus now.
I will
It
say
is done. It is done.
I will say, Steven, you had me at that. The Empire isn't, the Empire is more.
This ain't your
What's the
daddy's
word I'm
empire.
looking
It's
for?
a shadowy figure in the background looming.
This ain't
and
your
more-
daddy's
It's
empire.
more of a threat than an actual presence.
But
That's how I would.
But there's some.
Not one dimensional.
Yeah,
It's
they're
not
not one
one-dimensional.
dimensional. They're
Yeah.
not there to just be pew pewed at.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that's
they're not
what,
an unstoppable force with no name or no face.
Yeah, I will say, Steven, you did a better job at convincing me than the other guys did for House of the Dragon.
And with that, I think Steven has set the bar oh so high. Andor is the greatest show to exist, and Noah and Nick will watch it.
It is, but I will drop the hammer and say it is by far, in a way, the most enjoyable piece of content that I've watched in the Star Wars universe, bar none. And it's not even a competition for me personally.
But did you watch the first episode of Boba Fett, Steven?
No, I did not.
I'm never going to live this down. Ever.
Andor has the Book of Boba Fett to respond to.
Oh
So
my
I will follow
God.
up and do my due diligence. I think, Andor is like, you can take these episodes and you can label it something other than Star Wars, and it would still be amazing. The fact that it's set in Star Wars is just an added bonus.
So I guess we'll all reconvene when we watch Andor.
Yeah,
Same with House of the Dragon. We'll have to all reconvene and discuss it.
And I think Noah and Nick will have to also give a summary of how good Steven's explanation was.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah,
If it was accurate.
If Steven is right, this could be the greatest TV show ever made.
We'll do a follow-up. This was my favorite TV show of 2022. I've seen a lot of great TV shows this year. And
What was number 2? House of the Dragon? Was House of the Dragon number 2?
Number two was Better Call Saul, and the number 3 was probably Atlanta.
Thank you for joining us on this special edition of the Spooky Screen. We have had fun.
Watch Andor. Watch Andor and return to us when we all watch Andor and discuss if Steven is.
Tell us in the comments whether you
is Steven more of a Rogue One or Steven more an Andor. We will find out.
Please like, subscribe to the channel, throw your comments down below, and check us out next time on The Spooky Screen.
Peace out.
Peace out.